Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is episode number 39 of Coaching Connections. On today's episode, we have Coach Kimble McHone of Boerne High School and Coach Brian Molina of Harlingen South. Now, both of these coaches do a phenomenal job with their programs, and they're just good people in general. So I was blessed to have them on the show at the same time. I hope you enjoyed this episode just as much as I did. Again, this is episode number 39. Kimble McHone, Brian Molina. Let's get after it. Well, coaches, first, let me just say thank you very much. I've had a chance to kind of get to know you guys through coaching. Both outstanding coaches and just in general, just good people, good men. So I appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedule to talk about life, talk about hoops, and everything else in between. So thank you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir. So the summer kind of flew by, right? And now we're already in the mix of things, But during that time where there was so much uncertainty I guess we're still in that time, but I guess when we were kind of shut down, now what did you guys do to kind of stay busy, stay engaged, and I guess to kind of pass your time?
Go ahead, Coach McHone.
Well, I think the first thing is that my wife put me to work. Doing a lot of honeydews kind of around the house just to, kind of stay active there a little bit. But really just kind of, with basketball-wise, went back and watch some of our film from last year and, seeing where we could improve and maybe get a little bit better, some tweaking here and there with the upcoming school year, with our upcoming team. And just try to stay connected to the guys as much as we could. We did some Zoom workouts and things like that. And then, when we were able to do strength and conditioning, that was good to kind of get back into it and see the guys again in person and all that. So just try to stay busy around the house and, got a lot done for sure.
With me, much like Coach McHone, it kind of slowed things down for me a little bit. I finally got to catch up with basketball, personal life. I actually started exercising a little bit more, running in the mornings and doing stuff like that. And I picked up golf. I'm not a very good golfer, but it was nice social distancing. I go out there and almost every day I just go out there and just hack up the course and be out there by myself. It gave me a lot of time to think, basketball wise and just family wise. It gave me a time to get away. Basketball wise, we started obviously it's a new norm for us, learning how to communicate through Zoom. We had some like Coach McHone that we had some Zoom workouts. I meet with the boys probably about twice a week. We talk about life, just different things, quotes and stuff like that. Just to kind of keep them going as far as that's concerned. We had strength and conditioning for about 3 weeks, and the nerve-wracking thing for me was, how are these guys going to report? Because I haven't seen them since spring break, and I was very pleased. I mean, they would tell me, they would show me. We had a running app that they would do, that they'd be running, but you really don't know until you get them there. They reported in great shape. I felt like those 3 weeks helped us a little bit, but then, we went right back to home workouts and stuff. So I'm pleased. We had our first week of school this week, and we had some good workouts via Zoom. We had to go back to a lot of stuff that as a coach, I found like I tend to neglect. We went back to a lot of just fundamental basketball camp type drills on over Zoom, stuff that we need, that every basketball player needs. And so it's been quite different, but I've gotten to see basketball on another level, I guess you could say.
Absolutely. And it's given, I guess we've all kind of done the same, going back to our roots and watching a lot of tape on our team, but also a lot of, clinics and getting a chance to see what, just, I guess, study more film. We don't always get a chance to do that.
Right.
And so another thing I noticed during this, like you said, this new norm, I know a lot of the kids that we've had over the years, communication is a skill that needed improvement. And so, and I'm just talking about in general, not necessarily on the court, but just with people. And so what I've noticed is that they've been forced to have to learn how to communicate better with everybody, because you're not face to face with the teachers. There's been some mix-ups with schedules, and we've done this thing where our campus does synchronous learning, and but for instance, if you teach Algebra 2, we're going to have Algebra 2 at 2:00 and just have 95 kids, all of my classes on one classroom, right? And so every now and then you'll have a class or two that the schedule classes, the kids will ask me, what do I do? I said, well, talk to your 2 teachers. Let them know, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, I have this class at this time. What do you recommend I do? And then they'll advise you from there, but you've got to communicate that to them. And it's kind of forced them to learn to communicate better. And I've noticed that it's been a big improvement. And I just told them that this is kind of what college is like. You're responsible for your own learning right now, and you're responsible to take it seriously, and nobody's going to hold your hand through this. And so, kind of a blessing in disguise in that regard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Marcus, we're kind of doing that synchronous learning as well. What we're doing right now is I have both types of learners. I have in-person learners in my classroom, and I have the synchronous learners in my classroom. And so, like you said, it's their job to come in online and do all that stuff and be attentive and kind of take care of their own stuff. And so we have those, what we call e-learners, and they can have all of their classes. And a lot of our guys do that, but then they come up for workouts.
Yeah.
They can come up for the athletic period and stuff. So you're right. It puts a lot of responsibility on them, and it's good to see them kind of growing in that way.
It gets them ready for life after high school too.
Yeah.
You got a boss, you got a professor, whatever it is. Yep. You got a wife. You definitely got to communicate with the wife. Let's talk about your childhood a little bit. What did you guys grow up? What was that like? Did you have any influences that kind of sent you down this road to want to be a coach and educator?
Coach?
Well, my dad was a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up around it. He was he started as a high school coach, and then he went to college, and then spent 17 years in the NBA. So, I've grown up with it, right in the middle of it. I can remember when I was growing up, and he was at Florida State in Georgia. We'd have guys over at the house all the time and stuff. So, I just grew up with it. It was just like part of our everyday life. It was coaching and having a relationship with the players and things like that. And that's what I always wanted to do. I never even thought about doing anything else other than coaching basketball. So, obviously my dad, and then when you get into the profession, some other people that kind of influence your thoughts and your ideas and style play and stuff like that. But grew up with it, from day one. And just kind of always knew that's what I was going to do.
Yeah. It's neat that I'm on with Coach McHone. Coach McHone and I have the same path. My father's a coach. He's in the Texas Hall of Fame, and he's a high school coach down here. As a matter of fact, he's still doing it at the Marine Military Academy. That he came out of retirement, and they have him doing that. I like it because it keeps him young. He's in the best shape he's been in a long time, just exercising and trying to keep up with those cadets and stuff like that. But he's been my biggest influence, just growing up with him. I've been around the game all my life. I remember being a little 5-year-old back in the days when they had those little aluminum chairs, and I'd be underneath just kind of watching the game underneath his legs while he's coaching, and just seeing the influence that he had on his players. A lot of his players became coaches, and so just seeing what he did, I think is a good way for I know me. I wanted to be involved with kids all my life, be able to influence them in the right way, teach life lessons somehow, some way, and basketball's provided that avenue for me. And so I've just been blessed. It's like I said, if I can be half as successful as my father, then I've done something good. And it's just kind of kept me going. I love the game of basketball. I know that it's probably the best, one of the best at-risk programs in high school. Any sport is, it keeps kids coming to school. Yeah. It keeps them involved. And just having those kids come back and visit with you. And then now I'm blessed. I have two guys that played for me that are now my assistant coaches. They're on my staff. Nice. And so, I tried to tell them, hey, you might want to go where the money's at, but I guess that didn't work. But I'm blessed to have them, and it's funny because I'm reaching that point in my career where I've always been a micromanager when it comes to coaching. I like to be hands on. I feel like the best way to do things is my way, and I'm going to teach it. But I'm starting to learn that I'm trying to take a couple of steps back, and I'm just watching these guys flourish. I know they're going to be good head coaches some days, and that energy level that they bring. And I find that even my kids even respond to my assistant coaches. They respond to me obviously, but they respond to them in a different way. Because those guys could still hoop, they could still play. Yeah. And so hopefully if I can influence them as coaches the same way my father did, I'm doing something right.
That's great stuff. And kind of going back, I was going to ask this question a little later, but kind of going back to you try to influence them to go where the money's at, right? None of us got into this profession to become rich.
No.
And, any coach or educator that I've ever met does it because they have a passion for teaching and helping young people develop, positive influences in their lives and that kind of thing. And so, I think out there's been a little misconception with educators not wanting to go back to work, yada, yada, yada. What are some of the amazing things that you've seen from your fellow teachers and educators where you guys are working that are just blowing your mind away? It's just these guys are putting in crazy hours and making a lot of sacrifices and learning new ways to try to reach these kids. And so what are some of the things that you've seen from your end?
Well, I'll tell you what, our staff, kind of like you said, I mean, everybody wanted to come back. Everybody on staff, from the math teacher down to all the coaches, everybody really wanted to come back. But I think one of the best things I've seen is what our football coaches are doing now. Our head coach, Coach Hendricks, you're really worried about, kids, not necessarily, we're all worried about them, getting the virus, but we're really worried about them being in contact with somebody who gets it and then have to go home for 14 days or whatever. And just his organization from how they're doing practice now is just, like you said, it's completely different than what the norm is. So, the varsity's practicing by themselves, the JV's practicing them by themselves, the freshmen by themselves. So they're keeping them separate. They've moved some weights outside. So now they're lifting weights outside instead of being indoors. They have a whole film area set up underneath the bleachers, excuse me, where they're watching film in small groups outside, for no more than 15 minutes. And then our kids, just their ability and their want to, everybody's in a mask in practice. Everybody's wearing the gaiters, We don't have to get on to them about it because they want to play so bad, and so they understand that this sacrifice is what needs to be made, and so we can play. So, that's been really, kind of neat to watch our football staff do it completely different than they've ever done it before, but still be successful at it. And so that, so now I'm kind of following their path where we're kind of separating our guys as much as we can, not practicing all together so that, we can keep those groups small in case somebody gets it doesn't knock everybody out. And so, I think that's been really, really neat to watch.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is we're starting to come back, and I'm starting to see these teachers. I've never been, I guess, per se tech savvy, and just seeing the things that they're doing with their classroom. We're on a Canvas platform, and of course it helps that I work for a very, very good school district. Harlingen School District is great as far as providing us with everything we need to be successful outside of face-to-face. But seeing the way they set up their classrooms, their classes, the way I've learned that I've met a lot of teachers just through this virtual way that I've never really even talked to in the hallway because they know how to do this platform and they reach out to us and they're kind of helping us out. They let us peek into their classrooms. And so I'm able to do that. I'm also able to check up on my players. Instead of me having to walk to their classrooms, I could check virtually how things are going. And I think one of the biggest things is what I'm finding out is there's a lot of parents that are teachers on campus that have to deal with little ones. So they're sitting there teaching their classes as well as helping their little ones do their classes and juggle that. I'm fortunate my boys are grown up, but watching them juggle that, do that, be able to handle that. And I've gotten the same vibe from everybody else. Everybody wants to come back. They wish they were back in the classroom. They wish we were back to norm, but the new norm has kind of elevated us to think outside the box, and seeing the way these teachers have approached outside the box is even giving me ideas. What they're doing in the classroom is giving me ideas as far as the basketball court is concerned. And so seeing them be successful is commendable. I know it's only the first week, but I mean, pretty much every student on our campus is already logged in and they're getting going. And I think just seeing our community and our school come together is one thing that just kind of blew my mind when this virtual thing came into play.
No, I couldn't agree more with both of you guys. Everybody's school looks a little different. Everybody's in a different part of the state or country, and so how they're operating. So just to see the innovation and to see the way people are coming together to make it work for their kids, because they want to be there for their students, and so it's a beautiful thing to watch happen. And so I appreciate that insight, guys. So let's talk about your coaching journey. Where'd you guys start off? right out of college and up until this point in your career?
Well, Marcus, I never wanted to be a high school coach. And here I am 30 years into it, So I grew up, my dad was with the Spurs, and that brought me to San Antonio. And so I went to Churchill High School there. And then I went to Clemson University and was a manager on their team, and then came back to A&M and was getting ready to be the grad assistant for Kermit Davis. And then that kind of fell through. And it was August. I graduated in August, so it was kind of late. And then the guys who I student taught for there at Clark, Coach Murphy and Coach Hamilton, they knew a guy down in Uvalde that needed an assistant's job. And I had no idea where Uvalde was. I mean, I was, basically from San Antonio, and I'd never been down west down there. And I was like, where is that? Like Houston? No, it's between here and Del Rio. And so anyway, I got an assistant's job down there, and, met my wife down there. And, you look back at it, you look up, and 30 years later, you're still doing it. So, I had so I was assistant in Uvalde. Then I went to Snook as a head coach for a couple years, and then back to Uvalde as a head coach. And then I got reassigned, which will wake you up in a hurry. And you're thinking that you're pretty good, and you might be doing some things you think well, and then all of a sudden your world gets rocked. And, that was really a defining moment in my career, because I had to take a step back. I was on this journey, being a head coach at a pretty young age and all that. And then I knew Coach Leach from just competing against him, and he was the first guy I called, and it just happened to be that he had an assistant's job come open. And I moved to Boerne and was his assistant for 5 years. And then when we split the two schools, he hired me as a head coach at Boerne High. So I've been in Boerne now 16 years. Mm-hmm. And this is my 11th year as the head coach. And so, what I thought was probably the worst thing that ever happened to me ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. So, I think God just had a plan for me to get to Boerne. And both my kids graduated from Boerne High School, and, it's home for us now. So that's kind of been my journey.
A lot of success there at Boerne as well, Coach. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I hear about y'all way down here all the time. So you're doing a great job. My journey, I guess I followed the pathway. My first job was a 7th grade B team girls basketball coach.
Wow.
And I tell you what, I still talk about that team. I enjoyed every bit of it, every second of it. I tell my varsity guys all the time, I said one of my favorite teams was my 7th grade B team girls. I talk about basketball camp every single day. You get to mold them the way you wanted to. And we just had a lot of fun with it. And that was at a middle school. I was actually at the middle school I attended in McAllen, at Morris Middle School. So I was fortunate to start there. I was there for 2 years, and then Coach Swift, Roy Swift, he recently passed, but he hired me as his assistant at Westlake High. I was very fortunate. So I was a JV coach for about 2 years there, and then the next 5 years I was his assistant, and I learned a lot through Coach Swift. He was a great mentor. He did a really good job of keeping me involved. We watched film together. He let me do practice plans together. He even helped let me come up with game plans. We worked really well together. So I was with him for 7 years, and as a matter of fact, he was going to leave. That was at Westlake High, and I was going to go with him. We were going to go to McHone High, but I mean, just as fate would have it, I got a phone call from Harlingen South, where I'm at now, and I got a call from Coach Helms, the athletic coordinator at that time, just pretty much offering me the job. The job was open. He asked me in a few choice words. Coach Helms is an awesome man, and just said, "Why the heck haven't I applied for this job? And do I have something against Harlingen South?" And I said, "Well, I'm very good at reading job descriptions, and it said head coaching experience needed." And he was like, "Few choice words. How am I supposed to get head coaching experience if I don't apply to be a head coach?" So he just pretty much called me over. Had been following my pathway at Westlake, and he said he wanted somebody. At the time I was only 30. And so he said he wanted somebody young and hungry, and just gave me my shot. And I've been in a great school district. I have a great superintendent, Dr. Cavasso's here, and a great family here. here at Harlingen South, and I love it here. God willing, I'll retire here. It's I found that when I went to go play college basketball, when I left the Valley, I knew I'm a Valley boy. I want to come back.
Yeah. And
so being here in the Rio Grande Valley is just different, but I love it. I love it, and I love the school that I'm at. They take care of me here. They take care of all their employees here. So that's it. I mean, that's where I've been. I've been here. I will be starting, God willing, my 15th year if we have this season. So, and hopefully I can retire. Obviously, my plans, God willing, someday would be an assistant AD, here in about 7 or 8 more years, and then hope maybe move into an AD type atmosphere before I retire. But I'm happy and I'm blessed, and it's like Coach McHone said. I mean, it's things happen for a reason. God has a plan, and I really believe that God wants me here, and I'm blessed, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
It's always refreshing to hear that, and it's you hear of people that spend almost a lifetime trying to find that home, that place that feels like this is where I want to finish my career. It seems like both of you guys have found that, and I feel like I'm in the same situation where people ask all the time, would you ever think about going here or going there? And I'm like, heck no. Like you said, God willing, as long as they want to have me here, I'm going to stay here and coach until I'm ready to stop coaching. And then when that moment comes, go ahead, Coach.
No, I was just going to say, Marcus, I get asked all the time, kind of by young guys, and I always try to tell them, it's not about getting that next job and getting that next job and getting that next job. And, find a place that you enjoy the people around you, your day-to-day. What's your day-to-day like, not just your staff on in basketball. Obviously, we all love basketball and that's the fun part of the day. But, do you like, the other coaches on staff that you work with? Do you like the teachers that you teach with? Your administration, the community and things like that. And if you can find that place, you'll find a way to win.
Yeah.
You'll find a way to make that job, your job. But if you find that place, then stay there. I mean, and that was one of the things I learned from Coach Leach. Coach Leach has been in Boerne like 42 years.
Yeah, forever.
And in the 5 years that I spent with him as assistant coach, I learned more in those 5 years than I did my entire life with anything else. And it wasn't just X and O's. I mean, it was some X and O's, but, how do you treat people, forming relationships and just being okay where you're at, if you're happy, and I just think, like Coach Molina, he said he's a Valley boy. That makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Because he's happy down there and he wants to be down there, and I think that's happiness. If you can find a place that you're happy, no matter what you may think about the job or what, can we win or whatever. Yeah, you can win. You'll find a way to win. But just be happy in your day to day.
For sure. For me, kind of like Molina and you guys, you found that place. I grew up and went to McCollum as a kid.
Right.
And, this is where the area I grew up in. And so, if I'm able to stay here and give back to these kids and this community, the way he gave back to me, then, that's the plan, and so I found a happy place and, pretty glad that we can maintain it. Yesterday was 9/11, definitely a tough time in American history. Where were you guys at whenever that happened? What do you remember from that day?
Coach?
Well, I was teaching in Uvalde. I was teaching and coaching in Uvalde, and I teach government, one semester and then economics. So obviously this came up for us yesterday. And so I told my students, like you said, I know where, that's a, moment that you're going to remember forever.
Yeah.
I was in Uvalde teaching, and I was actually off that period when it started to happen, and I was in the teacher's lounge, and we just happened to look up at the, back then you had the big TVs that were up on the wall, and we just sat there frozen, just kind of watching it. And then I can remember we literally sent everybody home. Everybody go home, all the kids, we dismissed everybody and went home and kind of stayed glued to the TV for the next 24 hours. But I was teaching and coaching down in Uvalde, and my wife was as well.
Yeah, it's like Coach McHone said, you always know where you were at that particular time. I was I'd just gotten into my classroom, my anatomy and physiology class there at Wesco High that I was about to teach. And an announcement came over the intercom to turn on their TVs. Like Coach said, we had those little, I guess, Channel 1 TVs in the corner. Kids now, the kids don't know about those anymore. I don't even know. So I turned it on and we just kind of stayed glued. We stayed. I think we stayed in that one class the whole period. I mean, the whole day, and it was just kind of everybody went to lunch, and then I think after lunch everybody kind of went home or whatever, and it was just one of those things that I was just in shock. Like Coach said, I mean, I think Coach said it best. I was just frozen. We didn't know what to do. I'm like, is this really happening? Is this reality? I mean, you take a step back from your everyday life, and like you said, I mean, just kind of pay attention to the rest of the world and in particular our country. And all of a sudden, all these millions of questions are coming up in my head, and kids are starting to ask questions. Well, where do we go from here? What's going to happen? Are we safe? Just all kinds of stuff. You just don't know what's going to happen the next day, type stuff. So, I was teaching at Wesco High in my anatomy class, and I'll never forget where I was at.
I was in high school. I was in our athletic period, and I remember one of my teammates who always knocked off. He was never serious. So he came out of the locker room, and we're out on the floor shooting around, and he's like, "Hey, airplane just went through the World Trade Center," and we're like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And he's like, "No, for real," and then Coach came out, and then he told us what happened. And Coach was going to practice regardless. Coach Evans, Coach McHone, Randy Evans.
Yes.
He was my high school coach, and he never canceled practice for anything. But I remember, he said, we're not going to practice today. We'll go and just kind of get dressed and have some conversation. And that was and that's when I knew as a young 17, 18-year-old, like, okay, this is definitely something serious. And the rest of the day was kind of just like everybody was kind of in zombie mode at school. Even the kids, everybody was just there. They didn't cancel school or anything, but it was just a surreal feeling, across the board for everybody.
And kids today, they don't understand. Kids today, they don't understand. Like, they know the timeline now.
Yeah.
But when you were living it, you didn't know what was next.
No.
I mean, nobody knew. Nobody knew what the time. Nobody knew what was. Is it over? Is it done? And so I told him. I said it was a really scary time.
It was, and my dad was an ex-military guy, and he would always tell me stuff. And like, granted, like you think San Antonio, we've got how many bases here?
Right.
And Air Force and Army bases, and so you think, man, definitely something to worry about living in a town that's a big military town, and is it a potential next target? While you're at school, you don't know these things, and so all these millions of things are running through your head as a young person. So, and then obviously learning how to navigate those emotions as a 17-year-old was definitely different. So, I appreciate you guys sharing that insight for sure. Let's talk a little bit more, I guess, on a happier note. Let's talk about some of your best, your favorite basketball memories. It could be as a player, as a coach. Just think back. And I know you guys have been coaching for a while, and it's probably a million ones, and it's not always about winning. But just whatever you consider some of your favorite basketball memories.
Man, that's a good question. Coaching my son, I got to coach my son for 4 years here. I think just that 4-year period was just awesome to be able to share that with him. It was tough, no doubt, but in the end, I wouldn't have traded it for anything. So that number one, I think that's the number one thing that stands out. And then, I had some really good moments when I was with Coach Leach, as an assistant, and then, taking over here as a head coach. Never made it. The 1 year that Coach Leach and I made it to state, 1 year, in 2008, I believe it was. Obviously, that was a fun time, fun moment. And then, my first year in Boerne, my first year as the head coach at Boerne High, kids, some of the kids chose to come back to Boerne High. A lot of them stayed over at Champion. And so, we kind of had, I don't want to say ragtag, but it was kind of a ragtag group of kids that came back. And we ended up going to the regional tournament. We ended up winning district that year and going to the regional tournament. And so I felt like that team kind of set us on a great path of, winning tradition and things like that. So, right off the top of my head, those are some of the great moments that I've had coaching.
Yeah, I think with me, same thing like Coach McHone said, playing for my dad in high school, that was an experience. I never see my dad, throw people out of practice. I got thrown out twice. I mean, and I was just like, well, just playing for him. One thing I respected about him was he's a great coach, a legendary coach, but he coached me as a player, and then he was a father at home. Yeah. And so he kind of molded that way. And then I was blessed, like Coach McHone, I got to coach one of my sons for 3 years. Same thing, wouldn't trade it for the world. It was difficult. Wanted to make sure that he earned everything that he got. And I called him in. I told him through my life experiences, what he's about to face. I mean, every time he plays, it's well, you're the coach's son, and this type of stuff like that. And going back to when I played for my dad, I always felt that pressure. He always reassured me that, hey, just be you, do you, and let your performance speak for itself. And he said, I'll handle anything else. And so that was both situations were great, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, it was an awesome experience. And then, as a player, you live and learn. I went the junior college route, played in Kansas for 2 years for a great coach, Coach Beard, who I really appreciated and enjoyed every minute of it. Probably one of the toughest coaches I've ever played for. But he helped me shape me to be the player that I am. And also being in Kansas for 2 years, I knew, oh man, it's like Dorothy said, there's no place like home. I want back in the valley. I wasn't used to that cold weather and the snow and it was a difficult time, a difficult situation for me. But Coach Beard there made me feel at home. So his wife too kind of took us all in and because we were pretty much a bunch of Texas kids playing over there. A lot of kids from Dallas, Houston area were on that team, and Kansas. That Jayhawk conference is tough, so it was good. But I knew I wanted to come back, and fortunately I was able to play back here in the Valley at UTPA for my last 2 years, and that was a fun experience. Obviously, created a lot of good friends and got to see a lot of things playing at the D1 level, and then played a little bit in Mexico, and just kind of traveled around. I was still Coach Alvarado out there lighting it up, so it's cool. I'm still running around in the 35 and older league, still thinking I'm young, but I'm even at 35 and older league, those guys are still younger than me, still kind of getting after it. Probably one of the best teams that I coached was, and one thing that I've learned as a coach is like I said earlier, the Rio Grande Valley is it's different. It really is. And when we made our it's just like all the stars aligned when we made that regional tournament run back in 2013. I told the boys when they were juniors that the regional tournament was moving to the Valley for 2 years, and they were juniors at the time. We won district that year, but I knew that senior year was going to be special, and we made a run. Got to the regional tournament, lost to Coach Romine, Madison. We lost to them by 3 in the regional semifinal. But talking about a different atmosphere, one thing I'll remember is I got a phone call from UTPA. That's where the regional tournament is, and now it's UTRGV. I got a phone call from their assistant AD asking, hey man, can you do something about your fans? I said, what are you talking about? The games aren't till tomorrow. They're out here spending the night trying to get tickets for your games. I said, man, welcome to Rio Grande Valley basketball. I mean, that's the way it is. And so, God bless those San Antonio teams, Judson and Madison that year, because I mean, I would say the crowd there was like 10% San Antonio. The rest was all Valley people. And I mean, they turned away about 500-600 people by the start of our game because it was standing room only there at UTRGV. And just seeing it's one thing about the Valley. They'll get behind the teams that are still left, and just seeing how the whole Rio Grande Valley came behind us. It was one of those things that I tried to coach as much as I could, but the kids couldn't hear me. It was just so loud. I'm sure we've all been in those type of situations. Yeah. I was blessed to have a really talented team that had played for me long enough, and 2 of them had been starting for me since their freshman year. They knew what to do. Yeah. So I just kind of took a step back and let them do them, be them. And they've been in every situation possible. And we just enjoyed the moment. I mean, we took the lead with about 20 seconds left in that game. And I'm thinking, oh, wow. I mean, this is it. Usually the Valley teams, they get to that regional tournament and then it's leave a message, but the boys competed. I was very pleased with them, but we just couldn't stop Jamichael Brown. I mean, that guy he was
remarkable in high school.
Yeah, that guy was just, my game plan going into that. People always ask me, well, would you do anything different? My game plan was I knew he had a good supporting cast. We did our best to slow down his supporting cast, and he was going to have to beat us by himself. And gosh, God bless him, he did. He had 38 that night and was hitting threes from dang near half court. And my kids are looking at me, and I thought we had a pretty good defensive team that year, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, we had a hand in his face. I mean, what more can we do? So that's probably one of the biggest things that sticks out to me as far as my coaching career is concerned. And when you're down here in the Valley and something like that happens, people still talk about it. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those things that it hasn't left the school. Of course, the expectation here now is regional tournament or bust every year, which is good. That's what I think some of those guys that came before them kind of planted the seed on that. And those are just things that stick out to me as far as my coaching and playing career is concerned.
A lot of success from both of you guys. And one of the things I've enjoyed as a coach is I've seen you guys, like we've competed against each other, but I've also had a chance to watch you just as a person in the stands and see you guys operate. And so you both do a remarkable job with your boys. And so it's been a pleasure to watch you work.
Hey, on a note real quick, Coach Alvarado, one thing that sticks out to me is we played against you guys, I guess, at Coach Carroll's tournament of South San.
Yeah.
And you guys drummed us. I mean, drummed us. But watching the way you coach and the way you are with your kids, man, it was lifting to me. It was a really good experience. I'm not just saying that because you had me on your show, but the passion you show for your kids. I mean, because I could tell that those kids, you could tell in the San Antonio area weren't the most talented kids, but man, they played their tail off. And to me, that's a sign of a great coach. They're well coached. They were disciplined as far as their behavior was concerned, the level that they played at. And then, man, seeing the energy you had, I'm like, oh God, I need that energy. I mean, you were up and down, hooting, hollering. I thought I was dramatic, man. You were playing you were playing defense with them, and I'm like, good God, it's 8:00 at night, and this guy's still going strong. So man, I commend you on that, and that's one of the good memories that sticks out to me as a coach. For me, as far as learning is concerned, watching your kids compete and watching the way you handle them was a blessing to me.
I appreciate that, Coach. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because you're saying it again, like you're saying it here on the show, but genuinely, I do appreciate that.
I'm just glad the coaches don't have to play like a little one-on-one game before the game. So, because I think both of you guys are probably way better players than I was.
I'm starting to feel it. I did miss it this summer. Like I try to stay active, obviously with this COVID thing, I didn't want to risk it. And I didn't, I try to still compete in tournaments and, we travel to Vegas and compete in those tournaments and different things like that. And they all went this year. And I said, guys, it's kind of like I told my boys, I said, I know it's getting close to the school year. I don't want to jeopardize anything.
Right.
And I kind of gave them the whole speech, be aware of who you're around. If you want this season to work out for us, we've got to be disciplined and watch where we're at and who's around us and that kind of thing. And so I had to practice what I preach. And so it was hard not playing this summer. It was really hard. Yeah,
it's, on that level, it's funny because it's even my boys upstate, they'll tweeting those guys, they're like, they sit there and they're like, I was talking to a couple of buddies of mine from that are not down from Hunter. Hey, because I'm an assistant volleyball coach too, so they know I can never go to Vegas because I have volleyball season. Yeah. They're like, hey, you don't have volleyball season this year. Come on, man, come fly up here. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. We'll run. We'll do this. We need you. And I'm just like, man, as tempting as that sounds, guys, I just can't do that and then come back and work out my boys and just not be there for them. My play, it's like I told the guys, I said, my playing days are gone. I mean, they're gone. I still love to play the game because it's fun. Yeah. And so I'm going to play as long as I possibly can, God willing. Obviously, the level that I play at's a lot slower than what they play at. It's funny, I used to play pickup games when I first got here, and of course at Wesco, I was always playing and talking trash and doing all kinds of stuff with those guys. But now it's kind of like, hey, come on, coach, come play. And I'm like, No, because I know what I want to do. I used to be able to do it, but now it's just like the body won't respond, and then forget it. Recovery is not the same way. Not the same way it used to. When we were younger, we never wanted to come out of games. Now the big question is, okay, I'll go run with y'all. How many guys are we taking? Because I'm not gonna sit here and play the whole game, and we're fighting to come out of games now, and it's just funny. The kids are like, "What? You don't want to play?" It's not that I want to play. I'm just tired, and everything hurts, and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, no, it's been different. I haven't gone to play. As a matter of fact, I haven't gone to play. I know this is funny. I don't know if everybody has a gun at their school, but we finally got a gun here at Harlingen South. And so I think I've shot on it more than the boys have. I just come up here and get some shots up because I could be up here at campus. They can't. And so it's like having a new toy. So I'm just sitting there. As a matter of fact, when we're done here, I'm going to go get some shots up. But it's just one of those things that try to keep me active. But I feel you, Coach Alvarado, because I know you still hoop. And, I wanted to play Kinsiga and all those things that were coming up. And I didn't get to play this, this past summer because, the COVID and stuff. So I'm trying to practice what I preach like you are.
It's I don't know when that feeling will ever go. I know it will at some point, or the feeling may not go, but my body will. But like just being in the gym alone, or getting on the gun, or just by yourself shooting around, that's still to me like if I need some kind of therapeutic moment, that's what I'll go do. Just get the ball, go to the empty gym, and turn the lights on and just shoot and think to myself. To me, it's therapy.
It is. You're right. It is. I don't know how it is for you all, but this first week of school has taught me a lot. God didn't build me to be placed in a desk on a computer all day long. I'm just like, I'm going nuts. I'll go run, and even that's not good enough. So in the afternoon, I'm like, man, I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna go get some shots up. I got to do something. I said, I look up. And I'm like, okay, God, I know what my plan is, and my plan is not to sit behind a desk. God bless the people that work 8 to 5 in front of a computer or a desk. I'm not built that way. I can't do it. I'm going nuts. I was talking to our volleyball coach yesterday, and she was just like, Coach, I am going crazy. I said, I thought I was the only one. Like, no, I mean, just sitting there, I'm like, I'm so antsy. I want to get up. I want to do things. We had teacher in service last week, and we were on there from like 8 to 4. And I'm like, whoa, I told our principal, I sent him a text. I said, yo, these coaches aren't built this way. We got to do some type of activity, do something. We can't just sit there. So
differentiate the instruction, guys. Come on.
It's different. It's different, but I'm learning a lot about myself in this time as well.
No, for sure. I wanted to touch back real quick. You were talking about playing pickup with the kids and talking a little smack. It's fun because now, like, we have our alumni tournament, and and we've had it since before I was the head coach there. But now that I'm the head coach there, I have graduating seniors that are, as soon as graduation's coming, they're like, Coach, we're coming for you. Every year it happens. Every year, Coach, we're coming for you, and they don't understand, like, that's like grown man basketball. It's a lot different. So they usually come out with their buddies, and they'll get thrown or run out the gym by 30. But finally, last year, it's interesting you brought that game up where we played against each other, Coach Molina. That group, they're about 23, 22 now, and we met each other in the championship of that alumni tournament, and they got us by 3.
Oh no!
Yeah,
so you taught them how to play their tail off. So
yeah, they were getting after it, and so if I said if we're gonna lose the championship to anybody, I'm glad it was you guys. And so I hate losing, and specifically to some old players, but I was proud of them.
Coach, I cheat. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm gonna be as honest as I possibly can. We don't have an alumni tournament. We have an alumni game, and what's funny is I don't play in it because, I graduated from McHone Memorial. So I've just been blessed to be in Harlingen. But I'll bring back all the old players. They all look forward to playing that. But we always have our faculty game.
Yeah.
So, and I can never get people to play. The teachers are like, oh, yeah, I'll play. No, they don't show up. So, I mean, for the last several years, it's been like 5 or 6 of us only playing. But what I do instead, because I know if I get the boys basketball team and the girls basketball team, we're going to get run out of the gym. There's no way. I mean, there's only 2 of us that know how to play. The other ones we'll just run up for exercise. So what I do is I open up to any senior that wants to play, and I recruit. I'm feeding them how great this opportunity is. They get to be on the court, playing against their teachers, blah, blah, blah. So I'll have about at least a 40 people roster of seniors. So
They
I
all
tell the
gotta
kids, I
play.
say, guys, sorry guys, everybody gets 4 minutes. For the last 14 years we've been undefeated. And they're like, Coach, that's cheating. I said, no, we got to give opportunities to every senior here, and blah blah blah. And so yeah, it's fun. I do that. That's my bragging right here.
Do you want me to edit that game plan out so that way they don't hear it?
yeah, you can edit that. I don't want them knowing that part. No, it's fine.
You
No, we have a
know,
good time, and it's a good way of raising money for our PTSA. They do a good job here. So they approached me one day, Coach, would you think a faculty basketball game would be a good idea? So yeah, and it's either be in fifth period math class or English class or whatever class they have, or get to come to the gym and watch their teachers hoop. So hey, $2, they come in, and it's a good fundraising thing. It's a good time. I know the other teachers, or a lot of teachers, just need ice baths and stuff afterwards, but it's fun.
you know, Coach McHone, you guys, I would assume you guys have a pretty strong alumni backing as well out there in Boerne.
You know, we don't. I was just sitting here thinking while you guys were talking. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You know, we might want to start something like that. We don't have any type of alumni game or tournament or anything like that, but I imagine it would be, you know, highly, you know, okay with the community and stuff. I imagine we could get some people coming back to do that. So I was just sitting here while you guys were talking, my wheels were kind of turning like, man, how could I make that happen here? So that's a great idea. That's something that, you know, that, plus, you know, with Champion and Boerne, we have kids that, we have people that graduated from Boerne who have kids that go to Champion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have, you know, so you have, and then the, you know, the connection with Coach Leach for everybody. And then the last 12 years, you know, kind of being, separated.
Man, you know, when you mentioned a tournament, so y'all have a tournament with alumni.
And we raise money, so they all gotta pay an entry fee. The only one that we don't charge is the incoming or the ones that just graduated, right? So if you just graduated, that team is free. Everybody else pays the entry fee, like $350.
How many teams do you usually get, Coach? Do you have a good turnout?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have one this summer. The last summer it was I think 18 boys teams, and the girls side was a little smaller, but then you multiply that by 350, and then you talk about we have concessions, and we raise money with the concessions, and then we have a 3-point shootout, raise money with that, and we have a raffle in the tournament, raise money with the raffle. Then you got to pay to get in the door. So it's just this whole community affair where we're raising money. So we'll take all that money and give back scholarships to seniors for the next year. So I think like last year we gave back like $10,000.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's fun, and it gets the community involved in giving back. And
wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I don't think we have that. And what I do is, everybody knows over the Christmas holiday, we have them through social media and stuff. They come in and they pay $15 to get a shirt. We usually eat afterwards or whatever, and then they I think we go even versus odds, and I don't have too many kids that come back and play. That I usually have, there's probably about 15 to 20 on each team.
Yeah.
And we make the game a lot longer. We make it maybe like a 30-minute half type deal. Yeah. They just sub 5 minutes, and
gotcha.
we just kind of go from there. But man, that's a good idea. That's something. Harlingen South's only been here since I guess since about 93, 94, 95, somewhere around there. Harlingen High, we're the stepchild. Harlingen High across. Harlingen Spirit never dies, and it's.
But you got to think like basketball, like a tournament. Like we also have I'm not gonna act like we came up with the idea. We have a softball alumni tournament that's been going forever. But
oh wow,
I've noticed that like you can get a lot more people to play softball because it's less physical, right?
Yeah.
So I've noticed that the 95-ish is probably about the oldest we'll get as far as participants in our alumni tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So you could probably do something very similar. We don't really go back too far. Now Harlingen, Harlingen does. They do a tournament as well, and that's why I think you guys in Boerne. I know you guys have a lot of Boerne pride, and I know with the Champion Boerne rivalry you got, like we have an alumni tournament in July. The next weekend Harlingen hosts theirs, right? And then we got creative, and then it was like, okay, we're still very competitive. Okay, you take your top 4 finishers to qualify for this big tournament. Harlingen will take the top 4 finishers, and then we'll meet in what we call the Pride of the South Side, right? And so we 2 weeks later, now those 8 teams between Harlingen and McCullum alumni go to battle, and then whatever money we make off of that, we'll just split it down the middle and give to the overall funds on both sides. And so, it's
that's awesome.
and
That's
I
a
think
cool, yeah,
I
that's
think
a neat
Bernie
idea.
Champion can probably pull something similar off
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we probably could.
Dang, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, but like I said, we both generated a good amount of money off of that tournament. Like I said, last year we gave about 10 grand. I think Harlandale did about the same, and gave back to their seniors who apply for it, write an essay, the whole deal. So it's a good way for them to get back. You guys had any opportunity to watch any of these bubble games? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's been some really good basketball play, I thought.
Man, it's, you know what, Coach, and I'm sure you two can appreciate this. It's like I told people are like, oh man, I talked to the coaches, and then I talked to people outside the community. I mean, outside of basketball realm. Like, man, this virtual thing, it's really cool how they have the thing. Coach, I'm loving it. I get to hear coaching. I get to hear communication. I get to hear the players. They're competing at a high level. I don't have to wait 4 days before the next game happens. I mean, to me, I'm loving it. It's a neutral site. I mean, everything's great basketball wise. But from a coaching point of view, I'm getting to actually hear these coaches communicate and the assistant coaches communicate and doing stuff like that. I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Coach McHone, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I think the NBA did a great job of setting that up for them, and I think one of the things that has stood out to me is how well everybody's shooting the basketball.
Yeah.
And I think so, as you guys know, when, as a high school coach, when you're trying to find a venue to play, like a playoff game or something, one of the things we always talk about is, you got to have a wall. You don't want too far depth perception on the behind the basket so our shooters can shoot. Well,
we know you guys love to shoot and Bernie, Coach.
We like to shoot it. Yeah, we like to shoot it. And so, I think that kind of plays into that because they're playing in a smaller venue with, the depth perception is not in these large arenas, and they're just killing it. I mean, they're just knocking the bottom out of things. And so, it's been fun. I don't like the times. I wish they started the first game a little bit later. It seems like I always miss that first game.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. I'm just glad to have sports back on TV, and I'm looking forward to college football today. Finally getting to watch some college football. But definitely been keeping up with the NBA.
Well, what I've also liked to see is like teams like Miami and Boston and Toronto, like kind of the underdog role, but they are fighting tooth and nail and they're scrapping. Or even to watch Denver claw back in that game last night and take that win away from the Clippers on the brink of elimination. I thought that was great. But yeah, just to watch those underdogs kind of compete, and you get to see firsthand, like there's no distractions, it's just the basketball game. You get to see firsthand how talented those guys are. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Before we go, let's talk a little bit about some impactful moments in your careers where it goes beyond basketball. What we do is much more important than the win and loss column. And you don't have to get specific with names and details, but just something that comes to mind.
With me, it sounds funny, but it's weddings, it's children, and what I mean by that is seeing my players graduate, and then all of a sudden, I know I was a powerful person in their life because I'm getting invited to their weddings, I'm getting invited to their kids' birthday parties. I know this puts age on me, but their kids have been coming to my basketball camps for 3 or 4 years already, and then just kind of watching them grow up and influencing some of them enough to even want to be coaches. Like you said, I mean, it's obviously we're in this profession not for the money, and them being successful at it. I'm starting to see. I guess there's always been my dad's branches that have branched out. A lot of players that he coached have become head coaches or successful coaches. But now I'm actually starting to see my little branches starting to evolve. And to me, that just goes to show you how powerful a coach can be, how much of an impact a coach can be. I'm sure, just like you said with your basketball tournament, I think a lot of it, those players coming back is because of who coached them. Same thing with you, Coach McHone. I'm sure if you had a tournament, you probably have tons of kids as well. And so those are things that I'm learning outside of basketball. It's bigger than basketball. We try to teach life lessons every day. I do 2 words with Coach Mackey. He's got a great program, and we do a lot of that stuff here in Harlingen. We're blessed that our athletic director brought that last year. Coach Davies brought that over last year, and it's been nothing but success. But I think those are the biggest wins that I see. My boys tell me all the time, man, Coach, how could I ever repay you? Hey, walk across that podium and get that degree, and that's big. That's a big enough reward for me. And just seeing those kids come visit me. I get in trouble a lot, Coach. There's some kids up here that want to come see you. Can you come up and get them? Because everybody, you got to check in now. You got to have ID. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll be up there. They don't realize that I also have to teach, so they think they can just come up here at any time. Oh, Coach, I'm in town. I'm going to come by and stuff like that. A lot of them take me to lunch, take me to dinner. They won't let me pay that type stuff. Oh, Coach, you've done everything for me. I'm taking you out. Those are the things that stand out for me that are bigger than basketball.
I think our obviously our relationship with former players, is just, is kind of what it's all about. But, and then also too, though, is that I think that, and Coach Molina can probably attest to this, as you get older, you really do. I know this may sound corny, but you really start kind of wondering about, okay, who's going to take, the realms when we're gone, And so, just really coming up and trying to be influential on young coaches, helping them out, and seeing guys like Marcus and like Coach Lacey over at Churchill and just some other guys I have, tight relationships with, and just really watching them grow. And that's been rewarding for me. And maybe not even in basketball. We have some young guys on staff right now that are heck football coaches or baseball coaches, and just, because coaching's coaching. If you can coach, you can coach, and you can be a good teacher. You can coach, and just trying to help young guys out in the profession. I think kind of give back a little bit that way.
No, absolutely. One thing that sticks out about Coach McHone is he always said, we've played each other several times in different tournaments and whatnot, and if you need something, let me know. Always, after a win, after a loss, it's if you need something, let me know. And so I can definitely attest to that you're living by that, and so we appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
Speaking on younger coaches, any advice? I know there's several first-year head coaches out there that are getting their first opportunities in the middle of a pandemic. Haven't even met your kids. Half of them are virtual. And trying to navigate through all of this uncertainty, because nobody's ever been through this ever. And so, any advice you'd give some young coaches, guys, that are trying to find their way through this?
That question right there, it's one of those things that I think the biggest thing to me, if any advice I give my young coaches, the guys that are coming up, is build relationships. But I always tell them, I said, build relationships with your kids. If you can win them over that way, my biggest thing is, and I try to do my best to practice what I preach. I sincerely care about my kids more off the court than I do on the court.
Yep.
And I think that's been the backbone of our success here at Harlingen South. I think that they know that I will go to battle for them, that I got their back, but I also show them tough love. They know full well that off the court, I'm the coolest guy in the world. They can come here and we can bond in my office and talk, and they'll come talk to me about girls and things going on at home, or just the stuff that's going on at home. But they know once we step foot on that hardwood, it's all business.
Yeah,
it's tough love, and I'm going to get after them. And I'm also one of those that I pick them up at the end too. I take mental notes that, man, I was a little tough. It's tough to play for me sometimes, especially if you're a point guard, because I expect a lot out of you as a point guard. And I'm sure you guys are the same way.
My point guard's figuring it out now.
It's funny. No, it's funny. I had a point. It's funny when kids tell you once they graduate. Y'all get that? I mean, they'll come in and they'll start, Coach, you know this, or Coach, you know that. I had a point guard. I'll never forget, Joseph Bedford. We didn't have, it was funny back. This was like, back in when I first started, maybe 2010, somewhere around there. And, people used to ask, well, that's a heck of a press offense. I said, well, what's your press offense you run? Well, give it to my point guard and get out of the way. Let him do his thing. I mean, he was that type of point guard. He was really good. And him and I were best buds his sophomore year, his junior year. But then all of a sudden that group of seniors graduated and he took over the realms. It was his team his senior year. He said, Coach, I hated you my senior year. If somebody messed up, you were all over me. Why is why is that guy late to class? And I don't know why he's late to class. And I'm like, well, you have to take ownership of your team. It's not my team, it's your team.
Yeah.
And they know they know that. They know playing the point guard position is not easy for me because you're the coach on the court. I mean, not only do you have to know the plays, you have to know the plays at every position. You have to know what to do, what not to do, and that just came with a type of ownership that they have to take when it comes to team. I'm sure you guys are successful. I'm sure you guys have something similar in place.
No.
But yeah, that's why I tell the young coaches that all I want to do, don't come out there and try to change the whole thing. I mean, change sometimes. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, just kind of keep going with doing what you're doing, but then slowly implement what you want. But my biggest thing is kids are smart nowadays. And if you show that you care about them off the court, they're going to do anything you want on the court. They're going to trust you, build that trust with you. And I'm just I'm a firm believer that basketball has a lot with building relationships. And that's the advice I give any young coach that comes up and talks to me like, Coach, man, your teams defend well, your teams do this, man, your kids shoot threes. I mean, what drills can I do? I'm like, build relationships with them first. All that basketball stuff will be the easy stuff come down the road.
Yeah, I totally agree with Coach Molina. I think relationships is the number one thing that you have to do with your kids. I think maybe 15, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, kids would do it just because you told them to do it. Nowadays, they question that kind of stuff. They want to know why. And they want to know that you have their back. They want to know that you have a relationship with them. You can still coach them hard. I firmly believe you can still coach kids hard today. That's not the issue. The issue is, do you have a relationship with that kid? Do they understand why you're doing it? Do they understand why they're doing this? And so, definitely number one would be relationships. And then number two, what I would tell young coaches is that, and this is what I love about coaching high school basketball, is, we don't recruit our kids. We don't sign our kids to contracts. You don't go out and bring in who you want to play your style. You kind of have to take your kids and figure out what's the best style for them, and then make them believe in that. And you know what? I'll give you a great example. I was a straight up man-to-man coach when I was the head coach before I got to Boerne. And in the last 11 seasons, we probably played man-to-man. I could probably count the number of possessions on one hand that we played man, because Coach Leach was a 2-3 zone guy, and that fits Boerne. I mean, it just fits. And so let's just be the best 2-3 zone team we can be. Let's implement some things and make it ours. But that's what fits the community. That's what fits the school. And so, I think for a young coach going in, you may want to press 32 minutes, 32 minutes of hell. But if you don't have those athletes, that ain't going to work. Nope. And so figure out what your kids can do and then help them do that the best they can. But like Coach Molina said, number one, first thing you got to do, you got to have a relationship with them.
Just talking about you guys' zone a little bit, Coach Molina, I don't know if you've ever seen Boerne play, but they do a remarkable job with that 2-3 zone, and they've got some guys that are all about 6'3", 6'4", and they're long, and it kind of reminds me of a Syracuse type of deal where they know what kind of kids they have, and that zone is perfect for their personnel, and they play.
Yeah, well, my wheels are turning over here. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to hit up Coach McHone. I need to find out about that 2-3 zone. I've never been a zone guy. I mean, hell, freaking Alvarado drilled me by 30. I never got out of freaking man. So I mean, it's just that we're just. I've always been a man-to-man guy, and I'm not afraid to admit some of my weak points. I've never been around a zone. I mean, I don't know how to teach a zone. And my thing is, I watch a lot of video, on zones and stuff like that. But my primary thing is I'm watching the way they teach the zone, so I know how to beat the zone. Because there's a lot of zone teams that play down here. And, back in high school, it's simple. Okay, well, they're in a zone, shoot them out. Well, some kids can't do that nowadays. It's like Coach said, some years you have kids that could shoot lights out, and some years you just have kids that couldn't score if you spotted them points. I mean, it's just one of those things, and that's why I love about coaching high school basketball. Like Coach McHone said, you get to coach the team that you're given. Yep. Right. I mean, we can't go out and recruit. We can't go out and I'd love to have. I mean, Coach, you're sitting there saying 6'3", 6'4". Coach Alvarado, you know us in the Valley. I might have one of those guys every 3 or 4 years, and most of the time they can't run the floor. So it's just, it's small ball. When you say small ball, it is real small ball down here. That regional tournament team that I had that year, I mean, we averaged about 12 to 15 threes a game. That was the only way we can compete, and that's just, and we're usually considered a big team down here in the Valley. Hey, guy, man, you got some big kids. You got like 2 or 3 guys over 6'1", 6'2". I'm like, that's considered big down here. So I'm always willing to learn. I'm always willing to do stuff. And so my wheels have been turning. I've been talking to coaches that's one thing that I have done over this quarantine is just talk. I'm actually on a thread with Coach Romine and Coach Pete Solis over at Laredo Nixon. And we're all like on a group chat, and it's just nothing but basketball. I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. We were getting together like once a week talking, and it's funny because let's just talk about an hour, and 3 hours later we're sitting here. I got like 4 pages of notes, and it's hard because I'm like, I can't wait to get back to school so I can start implementing this stuff. And it's been months since we can get back. So now I'm on the same page with you. But yeah, just like I'm sitting here thinking, okay, Coach McHone, he runs zone. I need to pick his brain about some stuff here. And
he does a beautiful job with it. What you're saying though is great. I know we're not talking about what advice you give young coaches, but it's a good point to make that none of us know everything, and it's okay to share ideas. And we all at some point got it from somebody else, and being able to adapt to your new look within your team. And all of those things are okay. It doesn't have to be set in stone. This is what I know, and this is all I can run, and this is what I'm used to, right? It's okay to that's how you grow, I think,
It is.
And sometimes too, I'm sorry. And sometimes too, Marcus, I think you can do information overload, especially when you're a young coach, because you see so many great things that you want to do. We want to do this, we want to do that, and then you end up not being very good at anything. Yeah. If you're not careful, and so something else I would tell young coaches, hey, pick out a couple of things that your kids can do well, and then maybe try to focus on that. Be it often, it's like us with our 2-3 zone. I mean, when you play us, you play Boerne, what you're going to see. I mean, we're not trying to disguise it. I mean, you're going to have to play a 2-3 zone. I mean, that's just the way it is. And my kids now, if I told them to go into something else, they'd look at me like, what are you trying to do? I mean, don't you want to win the game? We need to get back in our zone. And so that's just how we have it, and so, because I think it fits our kids. Like Marcus said, we're long, we've got, we got long guards and 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" guards. And let's get good at it, let's get really, really good at it. And so, that's kind of been the philosophy there. And then plus, when you're doing that, and I stole this from Coach Leach, when you're doing that with your defense, then you can spend a lot of time on offense. You can spend a lot of time shooting the ball in practice. So that's kind of where all that kind of fits.
That's smart stuff. That's good stuff.
I mean,
you're converting me right now.
It fits. Like I said, it fits us. It may not fit anybody else, but it does fit us. And
but you found it. You found what works for your team. And
it's like Coach McHone said, in practice, we're going up against a team that's going to play a zone. I'm trying to simulate that with my second group, and it's horrible. I mean, it is like, guys, you all are in a zone. Quit staying, quit doing this, quit doing that. They're not going to do that. It's one of the hardest things for me is simulating a zone in practice. It's just, if we haven't done it, my kids are so programmed, just like your kids are programmed. My kids are programmed to, just man-to-man, doing all kinds of stuff. And that aside from the X's and O's stuff, it's kind of like you're throwing a curveball at them, and we're sitting here trying to get something out of practice. And I'll go to my assistant coach. I'm like, man, we got to come up with something. I don't care. We got to put on shoes and start playing a zone against these guys. I mean, it might be a slow zone, but man, we got to give our kids a better look because our second group's our second group is mixed between a zone and a man, and all of a sudden every offense looks great. And I'm like, it's not going to look great when we play these guys. I know it's not. So.
No, I got you. I feel you. Like we got some decent size this year, and we're usually kind of built the way you are, Coach Molina. But that kid that we played against you guys last year, Coach McHone, number 2. Now, he's grown, so he's about 6'6" now. And then we got a couple other guys that are about 6'4", 6'3"-ish, and that can all run and play and handle the ball and do things like. And this is kind of a new territory for our team. So, making little tweaks to fit them. What was that?
And that's the fun part about it.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part about coaching is that you get to make those tweaks and stuff as you see your team, kind of shift, with your size and things like that. And so, to me, that's what I love about high school basketball. Is that, we don't have to play the same way all the time because our kids are going to be different from year to year. You may have your base things that you do offensively and defensively, but you get to make those tweaks and those adjustments and stuff year to year depending on, who you have come through that door. So,
right.
That's to me, that's the fun part about coaching.
Yeah. And I think also one of the things that I try to practice what I preach is, I know it's a touchy subject in school, but the boys know where my faith is. They know where I stand when it comes to that. They know that I'm blessed in the position that I'm at. I know that I remind them of the blessings that they have for even being able to play the sport. And so I've always put faith first, and then trying to build that relationships. We start off every practice, every game with just a moment of silence. I don't push religion on them. But they know where I stand. I tell them it's just time we hold hands and we circle up. I give them our 2 words for the day, our affirmation. And it's kind of like, okay, let's just let everything go off the court. Right now it's about us and our bonding time and getting better in the game of basketball. And if they want to use it in prayer like I do, it's fine. If they don't, it's just a moment of silence type stuff. But I think they know where I'm at. I try to, it's funny because if I try not to cuss, but every now and then one will slip out. But it's to the point to where if one slips out, it's a shock to them. They're like, it's one of those things that I'm not saying that I'm a perfect man because I'm far from it, but I try to do those kind of things, so they know my pet peeves. You don't spit on my floor, you don't cuss on my floor. Yeah. I mean, and they know that. They know that I go not nuts, but it's a big thing to me. It's you're disrespecting the sport that I love. And where you get to play it, by spitting it on it, and then just trying to teach them life lessons through language. And it's funny because I've been around, and I'm sure you guys have. I've been around kids, and then I go talk to their parents, and their parents, every other word is a curse word. Everything's just normal. So it's an adjustment for them just to be where we're at right now and doing stuff like that. But I think it's like I tell my young coaches, just know where let the kids know where you stand. And just hopefully you can influence them in that ways. And those are just little things those are small victories that are going to make you successful, I think.
I couldn't agree more, Coach. And, to be honest with you guys, we could probably sit here and talk the rest of the day about basketball and all of these things. Like, for instance, we ran a 1-2-2 3/4 court, and Coach McHone was the first guy I ever send somebody to set this ball screen on our top guy, And I was like, what is that? And caught us off guard for a second. And I thought, man, if we ever see that, back in my head, this is what we're going to give this a shot. And so I thought that was amazing. But like I said,
I just wrote that in my notes too. Okay, I'm going to start screening the top guy. Okay.
And I'm talking way past half court. He went and sent somebody over there, and it was nice. But like I said, we can do this.
I actually stole that. Good coaches steal things. And so I stole that, Yeah, absolutely. I saw Florida do that one time, and so that's where I got it from. And so it's just watching a lot of basketball and stealing things, taking from here and there. But that was one of the things I just stole. Yeah. I wish I could say I made it up, but I didn't.
and like I said earlier, we kind of we got it from somebody at some point, somebody else.
Exactly.
And so, but we could do this all day, but I'm going to let you guys go. I want to say thank you. I appreciate you guys' insight on everything, your journey, the profession, the love for the game, and love for the kids. And so thank you for what you do. And if you guys ever need anything, you know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah, same here.
Thing,
thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You guys
thank
stay
you for
safe.
having me, Marcus. This has been great. Nice to meet you, Coach McHone.
Hey,
you will be
give
here.
Me a call, man. Coach Molina, give me a call. I'd love to sit down and talk.
Yeah, definitely. God bless you guys. Y'all have a great day.
You too, brother.
You too.